Hello and welcome to my channel, In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and this is my weekly wrap-up. Hello, so over the weekend we went to our local library's book sale and I did not want to buy a lot of books because I am in the middle of unhauling, which I am working on a video about that project. It's a big summer-long project trying to really reduce all of the clutter in my house, but especially my book collection. So I did, however, I found a few things. So let me show you what I got there. So first of all, I got this little book, which looks like a self-published book, but probably by someone local to me. And it's called Virginia Treasures, Amazing Places in the Commonwealth. And it's got full color drawings and pictures in it. And it's just unique places in Virginia to go and visit. Some of them we have been to and some of them we have not. But I kind of want to look through it and see if there are any other places, gems that we need to go discover. And if there's any information about the places we have been that I don't know about. And that was like $1, I think. And then slowly collecting some of Ruta Sepetys' books. This is Out of the Easy. I love this cover. How beautiful is that? Painting on the front. Just the colors. So vibrant. So I do not know what this is about. Having grown up in the heart of the New Orleans underworld, Josie Moraine wants more out of life than the Big Easy has to offer. She devises a plan to get out, but a mysterious death in the quarter leaves Josie tangled in an investigation that will challenge her conscience, her loyalties, and her darkest fears. So, sounds interesting with a bit of a mystery and sort of element to it. And then this is fun. I think I'm going to read this in Jane Austen July. Second Impressions by Ava Farmer. And look at the beautiful copy here. It's hardbound and just gorgeous cover. And the feeling of it, it's like that with that banana peel, whatever feeling to it. And then there's the inside hardcover. I just love it. And so it is about, I think it's about what happens after Pride and Prejudice, if I remember correctly. If Jane Austen had lived longer than her all-too-brief 41 years, this might have been the sequel to Pride and Prejudice. Written in the idiom of Austen's time, Second Impressions is the story of the Darcy family, their friends, and relations. So I thought that was fun. It's kind of long. Look at that tiny print for a sequel, quote-unquote, for Pride and Prejudice. So I'm very curious and looking forward to trying that. If you have ever read that and know anything about it, let me know. And then look at this pretty copy of Emily Dickinson's poems, which I like some of her poems. She's not my favorite poet, but I do like some of her poetry. And this is a nice, beautiful copy with glossy pages here. Gorgeous. So that's a nice one to add to my growing poetry collection. And then we picked this one up for my son, pencil drawing. He does like to draw, and he is a bit of an artist, although he prefers to make things with his hands. But my husband, who is also an artist, was encouraging him to learn how to draw as well, which he does. He already is very good at that, which is significantly better than I am, for sure. But this just is a good way to learn some technique and to spark some ideas of what to draw, because I think that's where he gets stuck a lot of times. Like, what should I draw? I don't know what to draw. Tell me something to draw. So this is a book full of ideas. And every day this summer that we are home, we have a bingo board of things that we can do. For them, they earn extra video game time the next day. For me, I don't know yet what I'm earning. What am I earning? If I get a bingo on my bingo board, what should I get for it? I don't know. I feel like I should get a prize of some kind, but I don't want to play video games. So anyway, doing something creative is one of the squares. So this can definitely give him some ideas for that. So that is my haul from the library. And I really need to unhaul significantly more to make room for the new books I pick up. And then I need to actually read the books I have, which I'm working on. I mean, I'm doing really well with that. I have read a lot of my own physical copies this year. I should track down how many I actually have read of my own personal physical copies and see how much progress I have made with that, because I think that that would probably be encouraging. And I'm quite sure that I have or am unhauling more books than I'm taking in, I think. I should keep track of that. I don't really know. But anyways, so hopefully before this week is out, I will have, oh, actually I do have an update on a book that I read. So just one moment. So I finished reading Children of the Stars by Mario Escobar, which I was buddy reading with several people. Alma is the one who had organized it, but I will link to all of us who are reading it together in a group chat on Instagram. And we have not yet discussed our final thoughts together as a group, but I will just say my own personal thoughts here, that I enjoyed the story. The story was interesting. It was a very unique angle on World War II. It was about two boys, brothers. The oldest was 12 and the younger was 8 at the beginning of the story. And their parents can see the coming unrest in Paris in 1942. And so they are trying to find someplace safe and kind of get settled in a safe place, and then they will send for their boys. Their boys, they think, are perfectly safe living with their aunt. But they didn't realize how far things would go in France. And in the end, the boys become refugees and they're on their own. And they're kind of at the mercy of other people. So they meet some good people who help them and they meet some bad people who harm them. And this is all about their journey on the way to find and get reunited with their parents. And their parents are, at the beginning of the story, it's not clear as the story goes on how aware their parents become of their journey, but this isn't really about the parents, it's about the kids. And so, I mean, I honestly had a lot of questions about how a parent could just leave their children in that mess. And then I'm assuming at some point that they knew that their children were they're trying to get to them and unable to get to them. I don't know that there was anything they could do to help them anyway, but they didn't seem to make any effort. Yeah, but they weren't being held up as bad parents. They were, parents who loved their children and wanted the best for them. And their reunion was very sweet and satisfying. And the children were anxious the whole time to get to their parents. But they were kind of alone in the world, in a war-torn world that hated them. So that's a scary place to be. So the story itself, I was very intrigued by and interested in, and wanted to keep reading to find out if they reunited with their parents and their journey on the way, etc., all of the things that happened. One thing I struggle with a couple things about this book, so I would probably give it 3 stars in the end. Honestly, maybe even 2.5. There were a couple of things about it that kind of put it in the balance of not liking it more than liking it. And one was the whole narrative style. And part of that, this is why I hesitate to really reduce the stars, but the fact of the matter is I did not like it. Part of that is it is translated. It's translated from Spanish. And translations can be really hit or miss for me. And I'm not sure how much of that depends on the quality of the original work or the quality of the translation. So I don't know who to ascribe it to. I have read translated works that I felt were well written and enthralling. Most of those I think were classics. And then I have read translated works that felt like the narrative was very stilted and elementary and did not flow well at all. So again, it could be a cultural style of the language in which it was originally written, which I think may be the case with the Japanese one that I read recently, Before the Coffee Grows Cold. I don't know that would be the case with this one. It may be a translation issue. I don't know. But all I know is I don't enjoy reading narrative in that style. I prefer it to have a little more structure in the narrative, in the sentence structure, and a little better flow. I'm just more used to that, and it's more of an enjoyable experience for me personally. And I felt like the dialogue was very stilted. Like, he was trying to tell some of the story and provide some information through the context of the dialogue, which is good, but it was coming out very stilted. Because the story revolves around two boys who yes, they were forced to face very traumatic experiences, which can cause you to grow up faster, but that doesn't automatically make you a better communicator or someone who is interested in deep things and politics and philosophy and that sort of thing. So, and it doesn't make you automatically eloquent and able to speak on those things in a dignified way. So, but that's what happened sometimes. The children in the story, or people who were conversing with the children, would speak about things on a very philosophical, adult-like level that just seemed odd in the context of the conversations they were having and the fact that they were children. So that also, the dialogue I felt was unnatural. So I struggle with that. Did not enjoy that as much. And then there was a weird situation, which along the same lines, an old man who is one of the good people who helps the boys along the way in their journey. He's telling the older boy a story of his first love and the woman that he married and how their marriage fell apart. And it was just like, why are you telling this story to a 12-year-old boy? Not that idea. Like, there's nothing wrong with, him telling him his life story or whatever, but the details that he went into and the things that he was talking about and the whole point of his story was out of place. It had zero to do with the rest of the story. Nothing. There was no connection to the rest of the story or anything. It was just randomly thrown in there, this conversation that was just weird. And we all agreed that it was just a little awkward thrown in there. So, with that stellar review, I'm going to be putting this on my Pango Books. So if you want to read it for yourself, you can. I mean, I think there are people in our group who enjoyed it more than I did. So you might like it. I have read other books by Mario Escobar that I enjoyed. So I don't know if I went back and read, what was the other one that I read by him? I don't remember, but it's Auschwitz Lullaby, I think I read. Yeah, pretty sure I read Auschwitz Lullaby. And I remember enjoying that one. So I don't know what it was about this one. So you may like it. I know some people in our group did like it, and there were things about it that I did enjoy. So it's not a complete, utter failure of a book. So I'm still a little bit torn on the stars. How many I'll give it, 2.5 or 3, but worthwhile read if you like World War II fiction. It's not a middle grade book, but if you like middle grade, you would probably like this because they are right at that age, 12 and 8 years old, and they turn 13 and 9 as the story goes on. So they're really right at that sweet spot for middle grade. I don't see children enjoying this story, children of that age enjoying this story, but if you enjoy reading middle grade books, you would probably enjoy this also. There is a strong middle grade feel to it, despite the fact that it's written for adults. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that one. And I'm still reading The Vanishing at Castle Moreau with Lindsay and my other big books in progress. And I picked up Recorder by Kathy McCrum from the library on Hoopla. So I started that. So it starts off with a big bang. Well, I mean, not really, except that it actually starts off initially kind of subtly, but action happens pretty quick, and you get the idea really quick that there are big things going on, and it really sucks you in. So I'm very interested in continuing with that one. So that's what I've got going on reading-wise this week, and I will update you when I finish something. See you next time. Bye. Okay. Oh, it's filming already. Okay, anyways. Hello, everyone. It is a Monday evening, and we went on a little date night. Now, we have like the most happening and exciting date nights in the history of date nights. We drove across the border of Maryland to Frederick to pick up a jewelry chest armoire little thing that I bought off Facebook Marketplace. And while we were there, we stopped and we went to Big Lots, got a couple things there, and then we went to a pretty cool bookstore. It's a used bookstore called Wonder Books, and I'll put a link in the description box. Apparently they have like 2 million titles. That's what you said? You saw the sign on their website?
Yeah.
That you can purchase, so it's not just for people in the area. It is one of those bookstores that maybe is a little overcrowded and a little dusty, and and you could spend literally days buried in the stacks and not see all of the books that they have. It's kind of crowded in that way, but I personally find it a little bit fun to go there and dig around and see what you can find. And then after that, I'm going to show you what I got there in a second. And I will show you some clips here of the fun that we had shopping there. Well, I did anyways. My husband very patiently just followed me and wandered around and looked a little while I browsed. But anyways, they had outside, all along the outer perimeter of the building, they had shelves and shelves of not just books, but CDs and videos and cassettes. And my husband even saw 8-tracks, just in case you want those, or records, and even a couple other random assorted things. And they were all for $5. So you could get whatever you wanted. Now, they did have a lot of interesting books there, but I'm in the process of trying to unhaul, not haul. So, yeah. Anyway, so let me show you some of the fun that we saw there, or that I saw there, the books that caught my eye. And then I'll show you my little haul. May Alcott liked this book. So after we went there, we went to Roy Rogers, and so my husband could get a milkshake. That was his reward for very patiently shopping with me at the bookstore. And made it a little more of a date night. He likes the milkshakes at Roy Rogers because they use real ice cream. And we watched the lady actually, when she was making it, she like weighed everything on a scale and all that. It's like a real deal. So, and then we went to Starbucks because that was the only coffee shop open in the area. Got me a little decaf latte. But now let me show you my books. So in the 5 for 5, they had some really interesting books, but I like a lot of classics and multiple copies of classics that, you know, I kind of want to read someday sort of things, but I need to read some of the ones that I have on my shelf before I start picking up some of those. So I got more useful books here, I think. Anyways, this one, of course, I have an app on my phone that does this kind of thing, but I also like to be old school, and it would be nice when I'm at home just to either browse through this book or look up specific things if I have a question about the carb grams in a food item. This caught my eye because when I was growing up, Rinaldi was a popular historical fiction young adult writer, and in particular, I know my sisters and I really loved Time Enough for Drums, and I don't see her books very often, and they had this one here in the 5 for 5 section. It's about the Hatfields and the McCoys. So Anne Rinaldi writes historical fiction, kind of like Ruta Sepetys, I guess, but with an emphasis on American history. I think the vast majority of her books, and when I looked her up just now, I realized she has a lot more than I knew about, so I'm going to want to read more of hers. But most of hers are about American history. So this one is about the Hatfields and the McCoys, which I thought was very interesting. And I liked this little warning on the back of the book. Warning, this is a historical novel. Read at your own risk. The writer feels it necessary to alert you to the fact that you might enjoy it. And then they had a bunch of picture books that I can use at work. And this one is If I Only Had a Horn, and is about Louis Armstrong, which is very cool. And then this is just a picture story without words about tuba lessons. And it's kind of cool. It reminds me of those like line writer videos. Where he's like, see all those tangled lines? That's the music staff. And then they're playing around with the notes. And there's a whole adventure with a bear and skunk and other animals and all this stuff while he's playing his tuba. So that looked cute. And then Subira, which is a folk song. And this is like, there's a story, but there's also places where you can sing the song. And then it has the music in the back. This is not one that I'm familiar with, although I've heard of it. But it's not one that I sing. So it's based on an, I was going to say African, but I guess African and Asian folktale and song. So those were all in the 5 for 5 section. And these are library books, which is probably why they were 5 for 5. And then inside the store, I got myself a nice hard copy of Paradise Lost, which I am currently reading. Oh, it's upside down. Paradise Lost, which I am currently reading. And let's see, this edition, it's a nice vintage copy in good condition. When was it printed? 1935. So, and I like that it has notes, because the Kindle version I'm reading does not have notes, and I would actually find that very useful. So I'm happy to have that. I also got this, which was only a couple bucks. Monarch notes on Paradise Lost and other works. And it has, this one has like little summaries of each stanza, so that in case there's something I'm not quite understanding, I can read the summary of it. And then this, I had listened to, oh goodness, I cannot remember his name. There's a booktube channel that I follow, and he's reading through all of the 50 Harvard classics, and this is one of them. and he talked about this. I do not know how to say that word, Aeropagitica, and of education. And he talked about the of education speech by John Milton, and it was very interesting. And it's about classical education. Well, I don't know that Milton called it that, but that's what we call it these days. And he had a lot of good things to say about it, and so I kind of am interested to read that myself, being a classical educator. So anyways, that was also only a couple bucks, so I thought that was interesting. So that is my start to the week. Date night and a nice little call at a bookstore. So, library, book sale, used bookstore. Have I done any actual reading this week? Why, yes I have. I already talked about Children of the Stars, but I have finished 2 more books, thankfully, this week. And so let's talk about those. Aww. Let's see. Let's start with Vanishing at Castle Moreau, which was by Jaime Jo Wright, and I read it on my Kindle, and which I had borrowed from the library. Both of these books were library books, by the way. It was very good. It was actually one of my favorite Jaime Jo Wright books for a couple of reasons. One, I saw more of her kind of dry humor than I remember seeing in some of her other books, which I know to be true of her personality, but it was really coming through, particularly in the contemporary timeline in this book. And I talked a lot about it in my book, in my video that I did earlier last week, which you may have already seen. So I won't go into too much more detail, but I really enjoyed seeing that humor. I like how she kind of wrote herself into the story a little bit. Like, I don't think the character was actually significantly like her, but it was kind of like her alter ego. Moreau was the name of the character, who was a novelist who wrote like gothic / horror novels in the 19th century. And that was fun. There was definitely like some creepy overtones, but it wasn't quite, maybe I don't think personally as creepy as some others that I have read by her. And the story was very compelling. In the contemporary storyline, I was really invested in the 2 characters, or well, actually all of the characters in that one. I really enjoyed that one, the contemporary storyline. Normally I love the historic timeline, but a few books recently it's been the opposite. So maybe my tastes are changing, I don't know. But I did enjoy the contemporary storyline. The historic one I also enjoyed. It just, I don't know, it was a little more stilted, and the 2 main characters there, I guess the lady novelist was one of them, but the other 2 characters and the relationship that was supposed to be developing between them, I wasn't like fully buying. Like, individually, they were interesting characters, and I liked the one, Daisy was her name. I liked her personality and her story as it was developing. But the relationship between those 2 was just awkward and a little bit, I don't know, maybe even strange. I wasn't totally buying it. But all in all, I enjoyed that book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars on Goodreads. And then I finished The Recorder by Kathy McCrum. And that one is one that so many people have been talking about on BookTube. And every time I hear them talk about it, I think, well, that sounds like a book I would really love to read, notwithstanding the fact that it is sci-fi. And normally just the mere mention of sci-fi is enough to make me go, no, thank you. Really, I'm just not, sci-fi and fantasy genres just don't appeal to me, generally speaking. I know it's a flaw, but you know, whatever, what can you do? So anyways, I wasn't super interested in it in sci-fi, but whenever anybody talked about this one, I thought, I love the concept of this and the themes that it opens up, and the conversations that it can engender, I guess. And it was very good. And the story was written in a very compelling way. And mostly you see through the perspective of the main character, who is the recorder. But you also get some flashbacks, one flashback for each of the other primary characters in the story, to their backstory and how their stories are interconnected and how their history interacts with the recorder's history. So those flashbacks were also interesting, and while I liked the recorder's perspective and the way the story was told from her perspective, I really enjoyed those flashbacks from the other characters. It really helped flesh out the story, and it was also used as a plot device to help explain some things as we were going along. I did have some questions at the end of the book. Some of those questions I think will not be answered until I read the other books in the series, because it's the first in a series of 3, and the other 2 books are out now, so I can read them whenever I have time. And book 1 ends on a cliffhanger, so I definitely want to read the other 2 books in the series. But I do have some questions, and I can't really say much about them because I don't want to spoil the story, and it's kind of hard to talk any details and at any length without spoiling the whole story. I totally lost my train of thought. I was going somewhere with that. Totally forgot where I was going. Hang on a sec. Lost it. Totally lost it. Anyways, overall, really enjoyed the book. I do have some questions. Some of them I think will be answered in the upcoming books when I get to them. Others, I'm not sure. Like, we'll see how it all works out. But all in all, I enjoyed the book very much, and I felt like the futuristic sci-fi aspects of it added to the story, and were just part of creating the setting and the scene and the reasons for what the author was exploring and everything. But it didn't overwhelm the story. You know, there was a lot of character development, and there was a lot of interaction between the characters. It was a more, it was about the sci-fi setting, but it was more about their interactions and the relationship development that was happening, and the friendships and the kind of found family aspect of things. So really enjoyed that overall. Again, I think like 4.5 stars, 4.5 stars. It was very good. And I will definitely read the other 2 in the series to find out what happens with our main character. That was my week in reading. Today is Saturday. I apologize if you've been hearing our neighbors. They are doing some work in their backyard, and which is right on the other side of this window. So I'm sure you can hear everything, so I apologize for that. Also, in my video from Friday, where I was showing my all day of reading on Thursday, I mentioned that I took a long walk. I walked in my flip-flops for 1.5 miles or more, 1.5 to 2 miles. And when I left the house, I was like around the corner, and I saw that I was still wearing my flip-flops, like swimming pool flip-flops. And I was like, oh man, I should have put on my sandals that I normally wear. Like they're hiking sandals that I normally wear when I go for a walk this time of year. And I was like, I'm already around the corner. I don't feel like doing that. So apparently I am just too old to be doing that, because it seems like either I did something to a tendon or I got a little bit of a stress fracture there. So all day yesterday, I was just laid up in bed, and it's feeling a lot better today. But my understanding is that if it's a stress fracture, after rest, it will feel better. But then the more you walk on it, the more it will hurt. So I have a boot coming in the mail today so that I can go on vacation next week with my family and do some walking. Fun times. It's just great to get old. So exciting. Anyways, I will see you all next time. Those are my updates for this week. As I said, this week we are going on vacation, but I have a video already ready that I had planned to post this past week. I was actually planning not to have any videos this week, but I have one that I already did that I replaced with the reading for 12 hours video, and then I have a quick tag video that I will be sharing on Tuesday. So I actually do have videos for this coming week, but the week after that we'll see, because I will be gone all week this week and I don't have anything in the hopper. So I hope you all have a fantastic week, and let me know in the comments your thoughts about any of these books or any of my adventures this week, and I will see you next time.